He always complained that I was too controlling. So I gave him freedom. That's when I found out he used it to plan a vacation with someone else. I didn't cancel the flights. I just switched the passenger names. She showed up at the gate, he showed up at the gate. And I showed up on their stories. This whole mess started about 3 years ago. I met Jason at a little bar in Richmond, Virginia, while I was out with friends. He was that guy in the corner booth, acting like he didn't want to be noticed, but making sure he was. When he finally talked to me, he was funny, charming, just shy enough to seem real. It didn't take long for things to move fast. Within 6 months, we were living together in a 2-bedroom apartment just outside the city. The first few months were great. He cooked dinner sometimes, we had lazy Sundays watching bad TV, and for a while, I thought maybe I found my person. But after a while, little things started to crack. Jason was weird about control. If I suggested we plan a trip together, he said I was too controlling. If I asked him to call when he was working late, he said I was too controlling. If I texted asking where he was when he didn't come home until 2 a.m., guess what? Too controlling. Meanwhile, he had no problem telling me how to do things. He would blow up if I left my shoes by the door or if I didn't fold the towels his way. He wanted me to be easygoing when it came to his plans, but demanded military precision when it came to mine. For a long time, I thought maybe he was right. Maybe I was being too much. Maybe I was suffocating him. So 6 months ago, I backed off completely. I stopped asking where he was. I stopped checking if we had plans. I stopped suggesting anything. At first, he loved it. He stayed out later, came home whenever he felt like it, and acted like he finally had his freedom. But I wasn't stupid. I could feel something was off. He smiled at his phone too much. He turned his location off. He started taking random business trips that didn't show up on his work calendar. It didn't add up. Then one night, it all fell into my lap. I was lying on the couch scrolling Instagram when I saw a tagged photo that stopped me cold. It was a girl I didn't know, blonde hair, fake lashes, holding a beer. And there was Jason, sitting across from her, grinning like he'd just won the lottery. Her caption? Planning our great escape. Airplane palm tree #vacation. I sat there, staring at it for a long time. I went through her stories, beach resorts, flight confirmations, shopping for swimsuits together. She even posted a picture of a pair of matching luggage sets she bought. And Jason wasn't hiding it. He was there, posing with her, looking happy. The next morning, Jason rolled into the apartment around 10:30 a.m., acting like nothing was wrong. Hair messy, sunglasses on inside. "Morning, babe," he said, kissing my head without looking at me. "Late night. Crashed at Brad's place." I nodded, pretending everything was fine, heart pounding so hard I thought it would crack my ribs. Right then and there, I decided. He wanted freedom? Fine. He wanted a vacation? Perfect. But he wasn't going to enjoy it the way he thought. Over the next few days, I planned it carefully. While he was in the shower, I went through his email. Found the flight confirmation to Cancun. They were leaving the following Friday. Round-trip tickets. One under his name. One under hers. Airlines don't make it easy to just change a passenger. But they do allow name corrections if you call and make a big enough fuss. I called, crying, telling them I accidentally put my sister's name instead of my girlfriend's, and that it was an honest mistake. I was willing to pay a fee. I sounded desperate. They fixed it. Her name was erased. Mine was on the ticket now. She wouldn't find out until she tried to check in. Meanwhile, I packed my bags carefully, cute dresses, my favorite bikini, sunglasses big enough to cover my entire face. I wasn't going to hide. I was going to enjoy myself. And most important, I stayed completely normal around Jason. I didn't fight. I didn't accuse. I didn't even hint that I knew. He thought he got away with it. That's what made it even sweeter. Jason left the apartment early that morning. Said he was meeting Brad before the flight. Left with a stupid smile on his face. I waited a little while, grabbed my packed suitcase, got an Uber to the airport. I wore a hat pulled low over my face at first. I found a spot where I could see the check-in counters and waited. Sure enough, 15 minutes later, Jason walked in, rolling his suitcase behind him, looking around, checking his phone every few seconds. Then she showed up. Short little thing with hair so fried it looked crunchy. She wore a tiny romper and sandals way too thin for an airport. I watched as she tried to check in. Watched as she typed and retyped her confirmation number. Watched her call someone, probably Jason. Her body language was loud, angry, confused, stressed. Meanwhile, I walked up to the counter, smiled politely, and got my boarding pass. Boarding time came. Jason stood at the gate, scanning the crowd, looking for her. Getting more and more frantic. That's when I walked right up to him, sunglasses on, boarding pass in hand. "Hey babe," I said with a fake sweet voice. "Ready for our trip?" He blinked at me, confused. Looked down at his boarding pass. Looked at mine. You're not supposed to be here," he said, voice cracking. "Sure I am," I said, stepping past him toward the boarding lane. "You gave me so much freedom, remember?" People around us started noticing. A group of teenage girls nearby started giggling. One pulled out her phone and started recording. I smiled for the camera. I didn't even look back as we boarded the plane. Halfway through the flight, Wi-Fi kicked on. That's when I started getting flooded with notifications. We were trending. Somehow, the whole thing went viral. #GateCrashQueen. Videos of Jason's panicked face. Videos of me breezing onto the plane while he stood there helpless. People were loving it. Jason sat 2 rows behind me the whole flight. Couldn't even meet my eyes. Meanwhile, she, his little side chick, was probably stuck in the airport trying to figure out why her ticket didn't work. And I wasn't done yet. I thought about confronting him right there on the plane. Maybe standing up, turning around, letting the whole cabin know exactly what he did. But that would have been too easy. Too clean. I wanted Jason to stew in it. When we landed in Cancun, the plan got even better. He tried to catch up to me in the customs line. "Listen," he hissed under his breath. "We can talk about this." I ignored him. Kept my sunglasses on. Took my sweet time pulling my passport out. Let him sweat. When we got through, he grabbed my arm. "Please." "Just please," he said. He actually looked scared. It was beautiful. "Don't touch me," I said, loud enough for people around us to hear. I yanked my arm free. Jason's face turned red. He kept glancing around, seeing all the stares. I let him walk a few steps ahead of me toward baggage claim. He didn't know it, but I had already changed the hotel reservation, too. When he booked the trip, he used our shared credit card, one I still had full access to. So the day before the flight, I called the resort. Told them there had been a change. I was the only one checking in now. I even upgraded the room to a beachfront villa with a private pool. All on his dime. By the time Jason got to the hotel desk, sweaty and frustrated, the clerk was already handing me the keys. Jason stood there, arguing with the hotel manager, while I walked away rolling my suitcase behind me. In the villa, I poured myself a drink and watched the sunset. Posted a picture of my feet by the private pool, drink in hand, captioned it, "Freedom never tasted so good." Tropical drink palm tree #GateCrashQueen. It blew up in minutes. Back in Virginia, our friends were piecing it all together. My phone was going crazy with texts. Some of them were from people we both knew, pretending they didn't know what was going on. Some were from his family, his mom, even asking if I was okay. Some were from random strangers cheering me on. Jason tried calling, texting, leaving voicemails. At one point, I looked out the window and saw him standing near the front desk, looking lost. I didn't respond to a single thing. Day 2. I booked myself a spa appointment, a boat tour, and dinner at the resort's best restaurant, all solo. Everywhere I went, people recognized me. At the spa, a woman asked, "Are you that girl from TikTok?" I just smiled and said, "Yep." Jason wasn't at the resort anymore by that evening. I found out later he had to scramble to find a crappy motel miles away because the resort was fully booked for a wedding party. Meanwhile, I slept on high-thread couch sheets with the sound of waves crashing outside. But it still wasn't enough. I wanted Jason to feel it, not just for a weekend. For a long time. While I was away, I called the credit card company. Reported the card as stolen by Jason. I showed them screenshots of his texts admitting he'd used it without my permission. The bank froze the account. He had no idea until he tried to pay for his motel. Then I packed up all his crap back at the apartment. Left it outside the front door with a post-it note. "Since you love your freedom so much, here's a little more. Don't come back." I also made sure to message the side chick. Politely. No cursing. No threats. Just a simple, cold text. "Just so you know, Jason was living with me the entire time he was with you. Here's a cute little video from last week. Enjoy." Attached was a clip of Jason cuddling with me on the couch, kissing my forehead, telling me he loved me. No caption. No explanation. She saw it. Left me on read. Then, later, I saw her post a picture of herself with the caption, "Phew, glad I dodged that bullet." Jason had no one left to run to. Remember those girls who filmed at the airport? They had a huge TikTok following. Their video racked up millions of views. News outlets picked it up. People were writing articles about it. Someone recognized Jason from work. Guess whose company has a no public embarrassment morality clause? Jason got called into a meeting the week I got back. 2 days later, he was fired. Official reason: conduct detrimental to company image. He tried texting me again, begging for help. I blocked him. After Jason lost his job, I thought that was it. I figured he'd pack up his crap, disappear, and finally leave me alone. But Jason wasn't the type to go down easy. About a week after I got back to Richmond, after the TikTok videos died down a little, I started getting weird messages. At first, it was just random Instagram accounts. No profile pictures. No followers. Sending me things like, "You're a psycho. You ruined his life for nothing. Hope it was worth it, bitch." I ignored it at first. People love to pick sides without knowing the whole story. Then one night around 11 p.m., my phone lit up again. This time it was a new number, texting, "We could have been happy if you weren't such a bitch." And that's when I knew it was Jason. He was creating fake accounts, trying to harass me anonymously. Probably drunk and feeling sorry for himself. I took screenshots. Lots of them. Didn't respond once. Instead, I sent everything straight to the police station. In Virginia, harassment by communication is a real crime, especially if you have clear proof. They opened a report, gave me the paperwork to file a restraining order if I wanted. I didn't file it yet. I wanted him to dig the hole a little deeper first. He didn't stop at just texting. A few nights later, I came home from work and found a box sitting on my doorstep. No label. No return address. I hesitated for a second, but curiosity got the better of me. Inside was a cheap little bracelet. One I recognized. He gave it to me on our first anniversary. Nothing expensive, probably from a kiosk at the mall. But it was ours. And tucked under it was a handwritten note. "Remember when you actually loved me?" It made my skin crawl. Jason wasn't just angry, he was obsessed. I packed the box back up and drove it straight to the police department. Handed it over as evidence. The officer just shook his head and said, "We see this all the time. You did the right thing." Still, I didn't feel safe. I changed my locks, got a Ring camera, told my apartment office to flag his name and not let him near my building. And through it all, Jason kept spiraling. One afternoon, about a month later, I got a message from an unknown number. Different area code. "You don't know me, but you need to hear this." I almost deleted it. Thought it was more harassment. But something told me to read. Turns out, it wasn't Jason. It was another girl. She told me she dated Jason a year before I met him. Same exact story. He love-bombed her, moved in fast, isolated her, cheated, lied, gaslit. And she wasn't the only one. After everything blew up online, she started getting DMs too, from women she didn't even know. Women Jason had been juggling for years. Some overlapped with my relationship. Some didn't. There were at least 4 others that we knew of. Probably more. One of them sent me screenshots, messages he sent her 2 weeks before our vacation trip, telling her he missed her, telling her he was finally ready to commit. Meanwhile, he was planning a trip with a whole different girl, sleeping in my bed and calling me too controlling. The anger that hit me was something I can't even put into words. It wasn't just betrayal. It was years of my life he wasted. Years of me believing I wasn't enough. Jason was a serial liar. A manipulator. He wasn't trapped by me. He was using me the whole time. I decided right then, I wasn't going to just block him and move on. I was going to make sure everyone knew exactly what kind of man Jason really was. After talking with the other women, I knew what I had to do. It wasn't enough that Jason lost his job. It wasn't enough that he got exposed to his side chick. It wasn't enough that he was living in some cheap motel room crying into his beer. He needed the truth out there. No more hiding. No more games. I got together with 3 of the other women he cheated on. We made a private group chat. We traded stories, screenshots, receipts. It was honestly disgusting how much crap Jason had gotten away with. One of the girls was really good with social media. She helped put together a full timeline, dates, messages, overlapping lies. We didn't have to fake anything. We didn't have to exaggerate. The truth was bad enough. We created a public Instagram account, The Real Jason. We posted everything. The text messages, the photos, the fake promises he made to each of us. We didn't show any nudes or anything private like that, only proof of his lies and betrayals. We made sure it stayed legal. Within 2 days, the page went viral. Again. People who knew him started commenting. Girls he used to date. People from his old college. Even random strangers jumping in. Jason's name was Mud. He tried reporting the page, but we weren't breaking any rules. Everything was public information or consented by the people involved. He couldn't get it taken down. He couldn't outrun it. I sent one last text to Jason from a burner number. I gave you freedom. You used it to lie. Now you get to live with the truth. Have a nice life. Blocked him immediately after sending it. No arguing. No screaming. No crying. Just done. He moved back in with his mom in a small town outside Richmond. He tried getting another job in the city, but every background check pulled up the articles and the viral videos. Nobody wanted the guy known for lying, cheating, and blowing up at the airport. He tried reaching out to old friends, but most of them sided with me. Or they just didn't want the drama. The last I heard, he was working part-time stocking shelves at a grocery store, driving his mom's beat-up sedan. Not exactly the great escape he thought he was planning. As for me, I moved out of that apartment. Started fresh in a different part of Richmond. Took some time to heal. Got a therapist. I also had to face the truth about myself. I wasn't too controlling. I wasn't too needy. I was just asking for basic respect, and Jason couldn't even give me that. I also realized where I messed up, ignoring the early red flags. Believing his lies. Making myself smaller to fit inside his broken little world. I won't ever make that mistake again. If there's one thing I learned through all of this, it's this. If someone says you're too much, it's probably because they're not enough. And if someone begs for freedom while using it to stab you in the back, sometimes the best revenge is giving them exactly what they asked for. And letting them destroy themselves with it.